Welcome to Doom Scroll Patrol, the show where we doom scroll so you don't have to. Today we are talking about some really varied topics here. We are talking about liberal cringe. We're talking about Israel doing some bad stuff. And related to that, we're talking about some awful pedophilia. After that, we got some AI bubbles and, of course, the future of the left, because where do we go from here? I'm Aaron Hagee McKay.
I'm Harold Moss.
I'm Hannah Snape.
I'm Sam Perez.
Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this one. We also talk about theremins.
Yeah!
All right, here we go, boys.
To start there, we can start with something more fun.
Let's sort of like, not yes and, but let's do the mirror of that, of just like, you're talking about the efficacy of activism. And I'm out here just realizing how embarrassing like liberals are. This is not revelatory to me, but something like came across my feed of just like, so MSNBC, you know, it's trying to be the anti-Fox News or whatever, like the sort of liberal version of that, but it's just so fucking cringy. MSNBC is now rebranding to MS Now, which stands for My Source News Opinion World.
No way. Is that real? That's really what it stands for?
100% true. That is 100% true. They have just thrown grammar out of the window.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Yeah,
doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, welcome to. So it's no longer MSNBC. By the end of the year, it will be. They already have like launched branding and stuff like that. It is MS Now, and Now stands for News Opinion World, and MS is My Source. So My Source News Opinion World.
That's amazing.
That's they've beaten their lean in framing. That was their
yes, the lean in framing where like what was his face? The Keith Olbermann is just doing this. Just leaning back. I'm some fucking Keith Olbermann. That's
I think we should cue up a bite from Love Me, I'm a Liberal, which is a brilliant Phil Oakes song.
I do have a clip, and that's just like Morning Joe trying so hard to sound enthusiastic about this, and it is just painful to watch how everyone there is like, this is the greatest idea ever, and they clearly hate it. They are dead inside, but they are making $7 million a day or whatever the fuck they make there.
All right, we have breaking news as it pertains to our network. This morning, a new name for the network by the end of the year. We will become MS Now, which stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. And look, Andrew, they even have a graphic up. I like it.
There it is.
Actually,
the new logo.
It looks very sporty. As we go to Versant, we're going to be moving in this direction. MS Now.
Unfortunately, this is just kind of going to go on in a painful, like there's no like smoking gun moment of them just being like, I love this or whatever, but it's just going to be this whole painful, protracted thing. Of
they're all just like we can't say what we want to say because the cameras are. Yeah. It's almost like
because our paychecks are coming from the people who made this dumbass decision.
What I love how entrepreneurial it shows you for this insurgent, you know, mega corporation conglomerate of like 50 different media companies that used to be independent 50 years ago and are now just one giant conglomerate, kayfabe like competing with each other to convince you that there are actually different sides to all of this.
It almost reminds me of those pictures or the video of like when the cast of Game of Thrones was reading like kind of like the last stuff, and you could just see them all like very upset, but like they can't really be upset because like it's the whole producers, everyone's there, and you just see them like seething as they're like reading what they have to do. That's like what this reminds me of, is like you can just see them like, what is this shit, guys?
I mean, I will say that I think sorry, go ahead, Hannah.
I was just going to say this whole rebrand looks a lot more like a national postal service than a news network. But, hey, you guys do you.
The rebrand of My Source News Opinion World?
My Source News
Opinion. Whatever logo they use.
You know what this reminds me of? Did you watch did you watch Succession?
I didn't watch that.
There's this line where they realize it's like Tom and cousin Greg realized that like their like little cable boxes or whatever had been breaking the law and spying on their audience for like the last 4 years, and like if the government finds out, they could go to jail or whatever. And so like they have to like update I can't remember the whole context, but the whole thing of like they were trying to like pitch this as like a whole we are listening to you, but it was like we
Are
hear
listening.
you. We hear for you.
We hear you loud and clear.
Well, I will say it does feel like we're approaching a moment in the U.S. at least where the support for liberalism is just collapsing, right?
No.
We've got the least popular president ever, except for the first time Trump ran. We've got just disgust with the system, disgust with income inequality, disgust with genocide, disgust with all of that. And yet the opposition party is at the lowest possible support level, and people are fleeing the party because what they're offering is the warm toast version of fascist pot roast.
Yeah, I think around the world,
if you
I think
will
there's
allow it.
Yeah, around the world there is a backlash. I think there is a comforting like we want to go back to what it used to be like in 2012 Obama years, that sort of thing. And granted, Obama years are better than what we have now. I hear you on that. But yeah.
Well, but he also very much helped lay the basis. I mean, Clinton most decisively, Obama most effectively.
Yeah, Reagan sort of set the course. Clinton did a lot of like the execution on it.
Well, to bring the Democrats on board. That was really what he did, was to adopt the neoliberal Reagan-esque agenda and make it acceptable and palatable to Democrats.
Yeah, we had a lot of offshoring of jobs and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a historically long process of the last 40 years, and it is embarrassing to hear little copes like this of just like my source, news, opinion, world, as if this is going to make any sort of difference.
Mean News Now tell.
Yeah, can we come up with something better for MS? First of all, maybe it shouldn't be called MS Now.
I was going to say, I hope it's MS for Mara Salvatrucha news source now or whatever the fuck it's
multiple sclerosis now. We're gonna, that's how it feels at least.
Yeah.
Except for the current regime. I mean, the difference is the fascists are so quickly racing towards the worst possible outcomes that the liberals are still able to feel like, hey, we're not that bad because the fascists keep getting worse, right? So there's mRNA vaccines that look like they're going to be effective for dealing with cancer, and so they're canceling all the research.
Let's get rid of those. Let's just kill as many people as we possibly can.
Let's just kill as many people. That's literally what they're onto now. It's just let's kill as many people. And the Democratic leadership's lesson from everything that's happened in history and around the world is, so what you're saying is we need to learn to meme harder.
Gavin Newsom is out here just trolling the shit out of Trump.
Yeah, that's great.
That is literally.
Don't get me wrong.
It is kind of fun.
Like I hate Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom's kind of evil, but like I do like what's going. I like what's going on. Like I like his memes. It's fun to be like
the memes are fun.
Yeah, basically like
the memes.
It's like fuck you big stupid piece of shit. Like it's like that's what like I've always felt like the left needs that more. Like I almost like we just need our own big fat liar who just goes up there and lies about left leaning.
Well,
shit.
I mean, I think that
he's just a cool party animal who's just like.
To be fair, the memeing isn't a bad idea, but what they obviously are quite intentionally missing is that Mamdani didn't win as a starting at 1% outside candidate running in opposition to the machine to beat also a former governor and all the billionaires' money because he could meme. That's the lesson.
He is good at getting attention. I actually don't think he is doing a lot of memes, though. Yeah, his video content and the shit.
His video content's great, but it's because he actually believes. He believes. I mean, he's charming as fuck, and that helps. But it's because he actually believes, and he's actually talking about you can't afford to live in New York. I am not in poverty. we moved out of the city because I just
you have a theremin in the background. Of course, you're not.
But we moved out because we were.
Theremin is a luxury that for only the super wealthy and people who have great taste.
The broken piano was, believe it or not, free.
Harold 1% moss.
Well, definitely not 1%, but it was. But we couldn't. I couldn't have any space to work for us to work and live.
I
in
need
New
more
York.
theremin space. I don't have enough space for my theremin in this tiny apartment in New York City. Baby, we're getting out of here. Me and my theremin, and maybe you can go to live out in the country of New York.
Well, I mean, we just moved up where.
Yeah, but then, Mom Donnie got him back by saying that Andrew Cuomo is still running because he's one of those people that doesn't know what no means.
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
No,
this guy Graham
no
Platt-
means no, and just absolutely murdered him. He is now dead.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo is
and despite
literally been murdered.
Everybody, yes, and
wow, that's a spicy a meatball.
He's gonna be one spicy meatball.
There's a guy named Graham Plattner who's going against Susan Collins up in Massachusetts, the highly concerned,
please get her out,
fascist enabler Susan Collins.
Is she the one that talks like this? And
and she's always very concerned.
I'm very.
She writes a lot of letters of concern. She expresses concern. She would be outside the gates of Auschwitz being concerned.
It's concerning what's happening in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if we can stand for this, but I'm gonna vote for it anyway.
That's you. You have captured the essence of Susan Collins. And
good to know.
This is a guy who's an oyster farmer.
Oh, is he the guy who sounds like a wrestler? He looks and sounds like a wrestler.
I mean, he's a vet and a oyster farmer.
I am always pro oyster farmer.
And
I think oysters are
Oysters are delicious. Oyster farms help clean the water of excess nitrates from fertilizer runoff.
It's actually a pretty well managed fishery, and it's like they're
very
low in the food. They're very low in the food chain. They're actually very good for the sea.
Everything, they're
Manhattan
cleaning.
used to have just huge amounts of oysters, and then it was polluted away.
And that the oysters are now undoing the pollution in places like in Maryland, in the Bay there, and in New York. It's the future. So oyster farmer, yes, you already have me at oyster farmer. My little leftist heart goes pitter pat. But he's also said, why are we spending money on enabling genocide in Gaza? And he won't take AIPAC money. And
no, he said the G word.
He said the G word. Yeah, he has no problem. He's just done with the bullshit. And that's the
awesome.
hope here. Now, the Democratic Party historically is very, 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 very good at absorbing people and destroying them, right? That's what it does to movements. That is, I did not coin this phrase, but the Democratic Party as the graveyard for social movements is a real thing. And that definitely happened after the 60s. But I also think that...
that was like AOC. That's what happened to AOC. I remember when she was... going. She was like, I'm a disciple of Bernie and blah, blah, blah. And then now she's like, well, gotta vote for Israel because we all love it here.
Yeah. But also movement wise, the Black Panther Party and the Black Power movement in the 60s and the women's, it just kind of absorbed and defanged the movements. I think the contradictions we're facing now are so much greater than what we were facing in the 1960s. We are decades closer to the inevitable collapse of capitalism. And I think that I find hope in these genuine left candidates who are coming out and connecting. And you're actually seeing Morning Joe he was talking about Graham Plattner this morning because they smell it and they want to be ahead of the breeze, right? They smell the stench coming from the desiccated corpse of the Democratic Party leadership. And Republican Party, apparently from Trump, it's probably a more literal stench. I think it's...
Oh, no, he literally shit himself.
He literally shits himself, yeah.
He literally shits himself.
Schumer, I'm pretty sure, knows how to bathe himself. The stench is more metaphorical when it comes to Schumer and Jeffries. And there's just people are done with it. Done with it. So that's one of the places that brings me brings me hope is that we're actually seeing, and people like Mamdani connected to a movement, not just as I am your hero, because that doesn't work. You need a movement that holds these people accountable. Otherwise, left politicians, that's what happened to AOC, right? She ended up not being held accountable to a movement. And so she was pulled into trying to find the balance of influence and independence.
Are we really gonna like shit on AOC? Though?
I'm not going to shit on her, but she absolutely has
I feel like
triangulated.
she became part of the system.
She triangulated. She's still one of the best people in the Democratic Party. She's an incredible progressive communicator. Generally, she's got a lot of principles. But, for instance, she helped sell the don't make too much noise about Gaza in the run-up to the election. She's voted for defensive weapons for Israel, which there's no such thing when you're carrying out a genocide. She's compromised. I'm not going to shit on her, and she still is an incredible communicator and net plus to have in the system. But she made the choice around that triangulation of accommodation and power to accommodate more than like Tlaib, who doesn't accommodate at all and is still very much tied in with the Democratic Socialists of America, where she came from, and who's also Palestinian and has never.
It's a lot harder for her to be like, let's send some guns over there.
But she's like that on everything. She's just an unbending, principled left leader, which I would not describe AOC as that. AOC is a very effective progressive communicator. She is not an unbending, principled leftist leader.
Well,
Those
you
are
also
different
need to
things.
have your constituency, right? I mean, you need to have the support, and I suppose like we don't have.
Well,
to
she's got ambition, and she's more likely to win a Democratic nomination for president
than Rashida Tlaib, yeah.
Yeah, than Rashida Tlaib, and that's the equation. I'm not even judging. I think it's fair to describe.
Right.
I'm not judging. I'm not a AOC hater, but I think you have to recognize the compromises that take place because those can be fatal to a movement.
We have to stick together.
So there was this story that I wanted to bring up that I found very disturbing because it sort of does show, maybe it potentially is evidence on how much people in the U.S. government are willing to give Israel a pass. Obviously, the genocide that's been going on for a long time is evidence enough. But this was just one of these particularly heinous on U.S. soil stories. So there was an Israeli cybersecurity official. He was arrested in Nevada for trying to lure a child for sex over the internet. So this is via The Garden. An Israeli government security official was reportedly arrested recently by Las Vegas police and other authorities in Nevada who were conducting an undercover investigation aimed at online users seeking to sexually prey on children. Basically, it's the To Catch a Predator thing. They try to.
He got busted in a sting.
Yeah. Like the guy comes out and goes, "Yeah, I have some questions for you," or whatever. So the guy, the suspect in question here is Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, 38, faces felony charges of luring a child with a computer for a sex act alongside several other suspects who were apprehended during the 2-week sting operation. So he is the executive of the Israel Cyber Directorate, an Israeli government agency under the purview of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself. Right? This is like, he is really high up there, and he's involved in cybersecurity. It's a real shadowy art. So basically, he posted bond, it's $10,000. And then was returned to Israel. He just walked free. So the U.S. State Department has said on X.com, the State Department of State is aware of Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, an Israeli citizen, was arrested in Las Vegas and given a court date for charges related to soliciting sex electronically for a minor. He did not claim diplomatic immunity and was released by a state judge pending a court date. Any claims that U.S. government intervened are false. So you got to wonder, why was he able to leave the country then?
Well, it was an Israeli-born attorney general, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I have to.
I thought something was like there's someone else who helped him on our side who was like Israeli, either born or connected or something. Yeah. I remember.
So they just let him go.
They just let him go. Well, that's first of all, from a 2020 CBS News report. This is an ongoing thing. Pedophiles fleeing to Israel to escape prosecution is a widespread problem. This is not new. It happens.
Why though? Why are they so accommodating?
First of all, let's say that when you have an apartheid state, it breaks your culture. When people say, well, you've got to separate, this is Netanyahu's war. No, it's not. There's overwhelming support for genocide in Gaza inside Israel. When you have an apartheid state, you break the moral being of everybody who participates in that system. And that's what's happened in Israel.
Well, there's a lot of people in Israel who don't like this.
Well,
and
but
they're not, I don't think they're child fuckers either.
See, this is what I'm saying. You break it. So a couple of things. First of all, the majority, I think it's around 72%, support ongoing military action in Gaza. It's not a minority. It's not Netanyahu's war. It's Israel's war. There are people who are opposing it. There are people who are refusing to serve. There's a minority of people who are opposed to it, but most Jewish Israelis support what's going on and expansion of Israel. When you have an apartheid state, you break the moral character of anyone who does not come out to oppose it. But there's also another report. Let me have you guess the percentage they found. Percentage of Thai agricultural workers in Israel who experience sexual assault. What percent?
You're saying that they're taking people from Thailand to work in Israel.
In Israel. How many of them were assaulted once inside Israel? What percent?
89%.
Jesus, no.
Okay, what do you think, Aaron?
I don't know, 25.
Okay, Hannah?
54.
Yeah, okay. All too low.
What?
What do you mean all too low?
No.
The new study showed that 100% of Thai agricultural workers were sexually assaulted in Israel.
Jesus
when
Christ.
you build an apartheid state, you break the moral character of every human being who participates in that state unless they come out in opposition to it. That was true in South Africa. That was true in Jim Crow America. If you are a willing participant of the system, you are fucking broken. And Israel is fucking broken. That's why when we say Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, which, by the way, just to reiterate, is not threatening Jewish people. It's because apartheid states need to be dismantled because they break the moral character of every person who participates in them willingly. You need to do away. There is no two-state solution. There's a one state where everyone, Jewish, Palestinian, Christian, everybody has equal civil rights is the only way that there ever will be a resolution to what's going on there.
Well, I'm
Not
I'm
that
done.
I have opinions on the matter.
I'm done. See you guys.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
good for the day.
As a little button on that story,
Jesus Christ.
among the other suspects was Las Vegas Redemption Church pastor Neil Harrison Creasy, 46. The local CBS affiliate reported a church official told the station that Creasy resigned shortly after being released on jail on a $10,000 bond.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. I already know the answer. How many drag queens or trans people were part of this sting?
It was zero. It was zero. There were no drag queens.
Oh, really? Wow. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah, how many? I mean, I will say that pedophilia and sexual assault are bipartisan, obviously. If we can ever get the Epstein list, there will definitely be powerful Democrats on that list, and I think
launch them in the sun too.
launch them into the sun as well.
Bill Clinton's on there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sunlight
throw
is a
him to the
good
sharks.
disinfectant.
But there is definitely an overrepresentation amongst Republicans and youth
pastors.
preachers and pastors and cops. Cops, I don't know that we'll ever know. The number of cops who are guilty of rape and sexual assault just clearly gets buried. Like it's quite right. You know, so going back to the New York mayor's race, is it really a surprise that the sexual assaulter in chief of New York State, Andrew Cuomo, is like, I know New York City has the most expensive police department in the world and larger than many militaries. If you want to keep people safe, you got to hire more cops. Well, yeah, because, you know, sexual assaulters wants more sexual assaulters on the street. It's almost making me think that this capitalism thing isn't working out.
Why do we humans do this type of shit? Like, there's nothing in me that has any amount of ability to understand how this evil type of shit happens. Like, I just can't process. Like,
Well, that's why
is
we love
heavy.
you, Hannah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the audience are feeling like, well, maybe I should turn this shit off. But if you're still here, congratulations, first of all. I mean, this is not easy to look at or talk about, and I feel very, very gross and uncomfortable. You know, even bringing up this like story, which I didn't want to talk about. But it's
Well, I
just
think it's
so
important
galling.
though.
Yeah.
Like it's like insane that like, especially because the right
They
is
got him
always,
dead to rights, and he's
Well,
just like, all right,
and-
you're free to go.
and on the Republican side specifically, they're so like, we have to protect the children. We have to blah, 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 blah. And it's like always them that end up protecting them. Just like here in Utah, the senator basically changed the law. So I'll look it up. It's like his family member won't be considered now a pedophile. He changed the law.
He changed the law to
Yeah.
protect his relative.
Yeah, here, let me look it up real quick. I'm sorry, I should have had this. Well, I didn't think we'd be talking about fucking
Yeah.
pedophiles all
Fun
day.
topic.
Yeah.
It does seem to be one of those things. It's a word I hear upsettingly too often now. Like it's within the discourse now. Like they're calling Trump a pedophile or whatever, and it's just like it happens all of the time now. We're just this word is like, and so yeah. Now
And yet we still haven't seen the Epstein files.
and yet nothing is coming of it.
And nothing is coming of it. Hannah, to your point, there's a new book coming out that I'm really looking forward to called Goliath's Curse by a guy
I'm
named
also
Luke
looking
Kemp.
forward to that. I
Yeah.
want to read that. And
The
also
history
maybe-
and future of societal collapse. And the book's not out yet, so I'm basing it on his conversations about what the book is about. But that it's really was the it's also based in what Marx and Engels talked about, which was what they called primitive communism. We wouldn't use that word anymore, but they weren't even then looking down on it. Hunter-gathering societies, often matriarchal, egalitarian, and then the rise of class society. And he starts to put it in also more that we ended up building these class societies that privileged a sociopathic minority. And once it built on itself, as those sociopaths could gather power because they were willing to do anything for power, that it just continued to build on itself. And that is really what we're looking at, is how do we fix the problem of the last 12,000 years, where we've built up these extractive, higher and higher level extractive, hierarchical societies, and then in particularly the last 500 years of colonialism and capitalism.
Okay, maybe this is an AI issue. Maybe we can get AI to like sort of like profile. I'm fully on this idea of like having a complete surveillance state now that profiles literally everyone and then tags every single one of the sociopath, the dark triad people, the high sociopathy, high psychopathy, high Machiavellianism, the people who run the AI companies.
Except Hannah.
Yeah. Hannah's the only dark triad that we're all happy with. So it profiles them, and then we can we know who they are, and then we quarantine them safely from us.
If only the AI industry wasn't being built entirely by people who are dark triad.
Yeah. So going up back to like the right. So yeah, here Senate President J. Stewart Senate President J. Stewart Adams basically changed the law because an 18-year-old relative of his was accused of having sex with a 13-year-old who is now avoiding jail time after the law was like changed so that he wouldn't basically have to register as like a sex offender and any of that stuff. So it's like the right is constantly like, it's like they're all on the side of pedophiles, yet they're always touting this like, we got to save the kids. We got to save, but it's like, it's you're the problem.
This is where a meme that works, where you've seen like, the Republicans are pro-life and pro-child until the child is born, and you just see like the kid being tossed into a garbage can.
Yep.
I mean, that's just quite consistent. It's quite consistent that there is a genuine pro-life movement that involves being anti-abortion and other things, but most of that was just hijacked in order to consolidate political power for oligarchs. And it's that simple. All of those concerns. And if you look at it, it's that it's a dopamine feedback loop, and that what happens when there's diminishing returns on fear-based politics is that you need to try and go after more and more marginalized groups and come up with a new one. And that's where you went from gay people existing to gay marriage, to gay teachers, then to trans people. And, that it's just like they need to keep finding deeper and deeper cuts of more and more marginalized people in order to keep the dopamine hit of hate keeping the coalition together. Because most of the coalition has no actual material interest in the coalition.
Yeah.
What else is happening in the news?
Well, let's go back to my first thing that I wanted to talk about, which is some of the good news around this, which is, there's speaking of liberals, a lot of the Democratic Party who have been trying to blame pro-Palestinian activists.
Pedophile catapult yet?
Right.
Is that the good news?
Well, we will do that. No, they're been trying to blame pro-Palestinian activists and Palestinians. Pedipult, yeah, the new pedipult.
It's more of a trebuchet, but we're gonna go with this. Yeah.
And then you land on the guillotine.
And that'd be fun if you.
But
big old arc.
What the fact is, and that all this activism has been for nothing, and that it just gave Trump the White House, and that Kamala Harris, who explicitly said she was going to do nothing to change U.S. policy towards the complete uncritical support of what Netanyahu was doing.
I like the revisionism around that.
Yeah.
I've been seeing on social
the
media.
Fact
like,
is
if Harris was elected, the genocide would have ended. And it's like, no,
she explicitly said she was going to not do anything.
Yeah, you fucking.
But the fact is that the activism is actually working. Again, as I'm forced to say, with tears in my heart, if not my eyes, because I try and keep it together. Small comfort if you are in Gaza or the West Bank or, Lebanon or everywhere else they're bombing. Small comfort. But the activism alongside the ongoing genocide is shifting opinion dramatically. Overall, Americans went from end of 24, where there was, it was 50% support, 45% opposed to Israel's military action in Gaza. Now it's 32% support, 60% opposed. So that's pretty dramatic shift in less than a year of social opinion. And then when you look at by party identification, it went for Republicans, it's the same, 71%, but Republicans have been embracing sociopathy, so that doesn't surprise me. For independents, went from 47% support to 25% support. Again, cut in half. That's massive. For Democrats, it went from 36% to 8%, which is generational, irreparable, done. The Democratic Party is done with Israel. The Democratic Party is done with Zionism. The voters, the people. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing now. And it's the grip of AIPAC on funding. Lord knows how much compromat and blackmail material, which is Israel's specialty. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is how Israel works in the world. And they get outsourced.
Bro just fucking left the country.
Yeah.
What? I don't know.
So how much grip all of that has on the Democratic Party leadership. The fact is, and it's not just genocide, because genocide happens. Why are we seeing the genocide? It's been the activism. It's been the struggle. It's been those students who occupied their universities and get spit upon. And, the classic thing about liberals is liberals are opposed to every invasion or genocide except the current one. And that Gaza has brought that utterly to light. But the fact is the activists are actually winning the historical battle. Again, cold comfort if you're in Gaza, because the world leadership is not only allowing it to happen, continues to fund it, but historically the activists are actually shifting this because people would have easily ignored it and just accepted the line if it wasn't for people struggling, obviously in Gaza, through the Middle East, and around the world, that the popular opinion has shifted. So activism does work. Activism will shift things. It's just people power versus all of the wealth, might, and military and police power. So it's a hard damn fight, right? It's not easy, but it does work and it does shift things. And that's what we're seeing in the Democratic Party now, is I think a historic generational shift that isn't going back. So that's hopeful. And that's what we've got to do around oil as well, with the same stakes and the same military, police, financial corruption, all of the same thing.
Harold, shut the fuck up. Hannah's trying to say something.
I was just gonna ask, do you think that like this magnitude of shift in this short period of time, do you think this has implications for future genocides? Because it's gonna happen again and again and again and again. So do you think that we're gonna be more susceptible to, like, as a whole population, to being aware and like actually like catching it and actually caring faster? Because we're not doing a great job with Gaza, so like I don't know. It is a silver lining, but like
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Gaza's also not the only genocide happening in the
Right.
world, right?
No, and there's a lot happening now, and there's going to be more. So
Gaza's the one that we are arming and paying for
Yeah.
directly, and that's why it's been at the center of it, is because we are actually directly responsible. The second America cuts off military supplies, it ends.
yeah,
We could have changed it.
Yeah, there's a
from
lot of
day one.
levers not being pulled.
Well, they're being pulled the other way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah
I find it
just-
interesting how like you have like Canada and France being, or I guess the UK as well, being like, yeah, I think the UK specifically was just like, we're gonna recognize Palestine if you don't stop or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like a weird conditional recognition. It's like either it is a state or it's not. Like, I mean, either these are places that you recognize or they're not. It's a weird thing to be like, we're gonna do this if you don't stop doing that, starving of children thing. That's all I wanted to say. I don't really have anything else other than that. But
Hannah, I don't think to my thoughts on that, because I don't think there's an easy answer to that about whether we're in a better position to take on genocides. My thoughts to that is simply shifting opinion means very little long run, right? Because if it's just opinions and individuals as atoms floating in the universe, that all you need to do is start pushing the same reinforcements and the same narratives, and then people end up back closer to where they were. I think the answer to that question is a question of power. And that we need power. We need media institutions. This is why I am excited about these new genuine left candidates who are also unquestioningly anti-genocide and not taking AIPAC money and doing all of that. We need power on a local level. We need it on the national level. We need labor power. We need, mass support for land and water defenders. It's a question of power. We also live in a different moment in history. Well, everyone does, than ever came before. But we live in a more different moment in history, in that the contradictions are really all coming out, right? And, we're talking about Paris getting 120 degree Fahrenheit days in the summer, like Paris being a city that you could die from walking down the street in the summer, moving towards those kinds. Like, the contradictions are coming out so much that you can't brush it under the rug. And so this question of power is really the only question. Do we start building institutions of power? Do we start building political power, economic power, media power? Do we start building alternatives that are willing to go on to the root of the Goliath contradiction of class society and say that we either change this or we die? And I think that's why majority of young people in America now have a positive view of socialism, because they see what everything else is wrong. So it's kind of a yes if.
So this is somewhat tangential to what Hannah was asking, but it occurred to me, we've talked about a little bit on this podcast a couple of times that had the U.S. military long ago was like, hey, climate change is a serious threat multiplier. We are going to be entering what they called, quote, the age of consequences.
Yeah, it's a
Which
good
is
name.
like,
it's a good name.
It's a great name. It's almost as good as like our find out era.
Yeah.
It's where we're entering. We've been fucking around for the last 150 years or whatever. We're about to find out for the rest of all of our whatever we consider our civilization. And the thing that the Trump administration seems to be, the direction that seems to be going there, is kind of like a lifeboat fascism, where they are just like building walls, kicking people out, and trying to hoard as many resources as they possibly can. This is the reason why they want to invade Canada, because the Permian Basin in Texas, they have to drill far more wells than they did in order to get the same amount of oil out. So like the rate of return is diminishing, and so it's like if you don't have a replacement for that, you're out of oil, and that's a big fucking problem. So yeah, I think that like kind of keeping up our life. I think the word they use, like our way of life is under attack, that sort of thing. Your way of life is the attack, right? Your way of life is the threat, and it just seems to me that people are willing to like die for that story, if it doesn't mean all those things change. They're much more willing to kill and die for that story than they are willing to just have that change and make a world that is more just and more equal. That's what worries me.
Yeah. Well, I know there's theories. Well, I don't know if they're theories, but I don't know who said it. I don't know where this information is coming from. Okay, pulling it from somewhere in my brain. But someone at some point said that you need to have a very clear picture of your goal future, the ideal future that you need. You have to have a very clear picture of what that is in order to get there. You can't just be dismantling things and getting rid of things that don't work. You have to have replacements, and you have to have the destination in mind.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, that's I think probably the biggest problem I've had with the left for the longest time is just like, you're against things, but what the fuck are you for?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, what happens after the revolution? Who's running things? And it's just like it's kind of like, I don't know, sort of thing. And
Vibes.
I think we're doing on vibes, and the sort of like consent of thing.
The Marxist tradition has a little bit more of clarity, which is that every time there's a revolutionary upheaval, and revolutionary upheavals happen, again and again, popular bodies form. The Paris Commune was the first time this happened because it was where there was actually a concentration of workers. In Russia, it was called the Soviets. In Chile in 1973, it was called the Cordones. It's all these things, which is you shut down society because it's not working. You need to get things running. And you do that by organizing in your workplaces, in your communities. How are you going to get food? How are you going to get transport? How are you going to get healthcare? This happens over and over and over again. The response, of course, is to go in and kill everyone, right? In Russia, we may have talked about this, there were 16 armies that invaded after the Russian Revolution to slaughter every revolutionary peasant, soldier, and worker. 16 armies, including from the United States, went in and literally killed every revolutionary in the country, except for a handful of people who ended up being the basis of Stalinism. So we'll never know if it worked or not because they killed them. That's the challenge, right? We actually do have lots of historical antecedents of democratic power where people start organizing things in a democratic way. And there's, it's why revolutions have been called a festival of liberation, because you see all the oppressiveness start to get challenged. The homophobia and the sexism and the transphobia and the racism, everything start to get exploded. And it's such a threat to those sociopaths running the death cult of capitalism and colonialism that they are so threatened that they will do anything, including, of course, bringing in fascism and mass murder to do it. So the question is, how do we respond to that? Because those just happen. Those happen spontaneously in struggle. We actually know what a future society, the beginning of a future society looks like. As a Marxist, how I always felt was, I can't tell you the exact structure because that's not democratic. Those organs come up and people start to figure it out. And they're smarter than me because it's not me. It's millions of people organizing and doing it, right? That's the problem is, how do we disable their ability to crush it when it happens? And revolutions happen whether you want it or not. That's one path. Is it possible we can start building up power on a local level when things start falling apart? I don't know. That's one of the reasons that excites me about mayors in cities coming in with social democratic policies, which are real solutions to these problems, is maybe that is what we're going to need, that they are just going to fail. Rather than being one revolution, they are failing. Their system is failing, and we will need to fill in the gaps. Maybe that's what it is, right? And that's where local power is really important as well. Question of power is everything in the end. And so how are we fighting for, claiming, and exercising power is really the only question humanity has faced if we're going to make it through capitalism. And I don't think there's one answer to that. It's probably where I've shifted from where it is. because land back looks different than workers collective running New York City, right? Those are different scenarios, right?
There's also that theory that there's a certain number of people in a population that is ideal, and once you get over that number, it starts to not be efficient, and it starts to what we see happen in the world now starts to happen. So like, what do we just like break off into little groups again, just go into our little villages and do our own thing?
Are you talking about the Dunbar number?
I have no idea, man.
Is that the more than 100 people can't organize
It's like
themselves?
150 people roughly
like that.
can't sort of have a close relationship with each other, and so it's just like our cognitive load. We can't keep track of that X number of people or whatever.
Except for we do amazing things as larger societies. As we came together, like, I'm sorry, getting to the moon is honestly pretty cool. Now, the problem is, as Gil Scott Heron put it,
Whitey's on the moon?
Well, yeah, in that, which is at the same time, like, kids in ghettos getting bitten by rats while they sleep while Whitey's on the moon. That's the problem, right? The getting to the moon was incredible that we're able to do this. The things that we're able to, we're the disease we can solve, the abundance of food, the incredible things that get together when you get a lot of human brains together is remarkable. The problem is if you've got Whitey on the moon and kids getting eaten by rats in their cribs, that's not sustainable. And that's what we have to deal with, which is how did we allow the small number of sociopaths who get privileged and are charged with running everything. It's not that. I don't think it's the number of people at all. I think we do incredible things together. And most people are not evil. Now, they might get pulled into it, but most people are not evil. They might get convinced by some evil shit. Because I would say most people in America are racist, right? I mean, we all are. It's white people, one way or another. We hold it, even if we are against it. You can be anti-racist and hold racist ideas. But most people, in their heart, in their day-to-day thing, just don't want to hurt and injure people.
Right.
And that's even with the preponderance of the sociopath-run media, political systems, religious, all of these things, inculcating evil as the best possible world. People still aren't fundamentally evil. So it's how do we decapitate, to use a guillotine-inspired metaphor? How do we... Oh, that's not a metaphor, is it?
It's a simile, right?
It's a simile.
It's a pun.
It's a how-to video. How do we decapitate a system that privileges the sociopathy, or sociopathy, or the...
Yeah, I think you got it the second time. Sociopathy.
Yeah, the sociopathy over the interest of life, right?
Well,
that's what we're going to explore in our next episode. Yeah, we're going to have the answer for you. Let us know in the comments.
That's how
do we decapitate a system that privileges sociopathy. Hit
over
that
life.
Subscribe button.
All I got from this is that all of you are racists.
That was the important takeaway.
That's the main takeaway.
Thank you for listening to Doom Scroll Patrol. Like, comment, and subscribe to Undeniable Network for more content and to support our work.